all need people. Easy for you to say. Can I go now?
Yes, Mr. Bart, you can go. So unsolicited advice? That hard to show you they care? Maybe it's worth giving them a shot.
I won't waste your time.
You made it quite cozy with the chat all day.
What are you not telling me?
Something struck a nerve.
Lisa Benner defended an indifferent corp.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my live. Hi, Shiwana, how are you? How are you? How are you, Gigi? Hey, Wolfman, we missed you. Where you been hiding? How are you? Did everybody have a good day? Can everyone see and hear me pretty good? Okay, Gigi says, hey sis, I'm here by the grace of God. I hear you. Nothing, I've been good. Good, Wolfman. That's wonderful. That's what I want to hear. Good news that you keeping good spirits like me. Keeping up. Feeling good. In spite of whatever it is we're going through, we're going to stay positive. That's the best way, and it'll make us feel better. How are you, Shiwana? Gigi, I'll be seeing you in a minute. It'll be here faster than we know. I had a pretty good day myself. A pain-free day, which is always a great thing. I was downtrodden for a minute there. And I'm back in the race now. So Gigi, how was your day? Did you get out, or they give you a day to get settled? I guess her and she wanna step away for a minute because it's not quite 10 o'clock. So Wolfman, do you go live on YouTube? I know you be in, what's that, Twitch, but do you you go live in YouTube? Oh, okay. What do you have do you have a certain time of day that you go live? Because a lot of times in the evening time, I look out there and I see other gamers, and I'll go in and support them in their live. I don't recall seeing you out there. No, I still haven't been streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Oh, okay. Okay, because I was going to try to catch you if you ever went on there. If it's, during the hours that I'm up. A lot of times I sleep late because I'm up late. So a lot of times I sleep. Well, hello, welcome, White Tupac. How have you been? Haven't seen you in a minute. Did you ever, White Tupac, I don't know if I had told you before, if anybody told you that I use your name. I shouted you out. I featured you as one of the characters in my story time. But if I hadn't, I featured you in one of my stories. Now, which one I don't remember, so you would have to go back and look at the replay to determine which one I featured you in. But yeah, you were one of the characters in my story time. Yeah, Wolfman, I was trying to find out if you did. Well, typically, if you did, what hour of the day would you do your lives, Wolfman? Wolfman, you lurking in the bushes? probably around noon or night. What hour during the night? Noon is kind of rough for me because a lot of times I'm just getting up close to that time. What if you did at night? What time would it be typically? Hey Gigi speaking to Wolfman. Hey Shawana, how are you? And Shawana is speaking to White Tupac. Okay, I don't know. I never made a schedule. Oh, okay, Wolfman. I was just wondering, trying to see, so I could probably go in and support, in that way, as well as watching your videos, because I do like to go in the lives some of the time. Shawana is speaking to Wolfman. Well, I missed you guys. Gigi says hello, White Tupac. Shawana says ready. Alrighty. Shawana speaking to Gigi. Hi, Sadie Jeannie. How are you? So nice to see you. Thanks for joining me tonight for story time. Sadie Jeannie, did you share out your story time when you were featured in the story? Good. I'm glad everybody's okay. Gigi, did you get out, or they kind of give you time to get settled in on the first night? Wolfman speaking to Shawana. Shawana is speaking to Sadie. Not yet, I will though. Oh, okay. Thank you. Just been busy, Sadie Jeannie. Yeah, I know. I could only imagine with all that we have going on outside of YouTube. Okay, I got and I'm drained. Oh wow, I didn't know they expected you to get out on the first day. I thought they'd give you a little time to get settled in. So they expect you to hit the ground running. And Sadie Jeannie is speaking to everybody. I guess she says hello. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started with our story. I extended it a little bit. Let's see, Sadie Jeannie, taking care of lung disease, have my days. I know. That's why I had to take the days off, Sadie, because after I did that, my stream on Thursday night, I started downtrodden, and I couldn't pull it together. And until now, so today has been a pretty good day, and that's the thing, when we're battling these physical things, you just never know from day to day what it's gonna be like. So you can't schedule things accordingly. You have to just take it as it comes. And so and I realize, and I think a part of it is with me trying to keep up with the story time every night, in addition to, viewing people's videos and being in the lives, trying to, do all that, plus my own personal stuff and running to all these medical appointments. I think it just got to the point where it was a bit much. So I think what I'm going to do is start doing the story time at least every other day and see how that works out for me. Sadie Jean says, yes, it's hard. I'll be praying for you. Yeah, and I'm praying for you too. And all we can do is just take it a day at a time. That's all we could do. But like I said, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Start doing the story time every other day to allow myself some time to regroup. Also, this week I'm not gonna have story time, which I'll announce it again. I'm not gonna do story time on Wednesday or Thursday, because Wednesday they pushed my chemo to Wednesday this week. So Wednesday I have chemo all day, and not knowing how I'm gonna feel usually the next day. A lot of times isn't a okay day. It just really depends. Plus I'm gonna be traveling, so at the hours that I'm supposed to be story time, I'll probably be en route to where I need to be. Sadie Jean says, yeah, I try to go my Raw Nation family 2+ here. Yeah, we're all over the place. We are. But we have to do what we have to do. Well, I'm going to go ahead because, like I said, I added a little extra to the story. It kind of extended it a little bit since we missed so many days of it. And we've covered a lot of ground, more than I anticipated. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So now we ended with her trying to decide if she needed to go to see the Mad Hatter or the March Hare. And Joker's Nation, who was the cat, told her it didn't matter because everybody around there was mad. When she was trying to figure out who she should go to, who may have been a little more sane. And so she chose to go to see the what's his name? She went to see the March Hare and ended up thinking maybe she really should have went to see the Mad Hatter. So that's where we left off. Okay. There was a tablet set out under a tree. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house. And Cory Ball and the Hatter, Tyrone W. Smith, were having tea at it. A dormouse named D.O.D. was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion. Before I continue on too, Gigi, is it okay for me to make you a mod? Okay, Gigi, I've added you as a mod. Okay, and if I need to add another one as we go along, I will. Okay. All right. Let me start over. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and Cory Ball and the Hatter, Tyrone W. Smith, were having tea at it. A dormouse named D.O.D. was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Brooklyn Chick, only as it's asleep. I suppose it doesn't mind. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. No room, they cried out when they saw Brooklyn Chick coming. There's plenty of room, said Brooklyn Chick indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. Have some wine, Cory Ball said in an encouraging tone a few minutes later. Brooklyn Chick looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any? Dear me, said Cory Ball. Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it, said Brooklyn Chick angrily. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said Cory Ball. I didn't know it was your table, said Brooklyn Chick. After all, it's laid for a great many more than just you three. Your hair wants cutting, said Tyrone W. Smith, the hatter. He had been looking at Brooklyn Chick for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first punchline. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Brooklyn Chick said, with some severity. It's very rude. Tyrone W. Smith opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, "Why is a raven like a writing desk?" Come, we shall have some fun now, thought Brooklyn Chick. I'm glad they've begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it? Said Cory Ball. Exactly so, said Brooklyn Chick. Then you should say what you mean, Cory Ball went on. I do, Brooklyn Chick hastily replied and continued on. At least I mean what I say, that's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said Tyrone W. Smith. You might as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might as well say, added Cory Ball, that I like what I get in the same thing as I get what I like. You might as well say, added DOD, who seemed to be talking in his sleep, that I breathe when I sleep in the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It is the same thing with you, said Tyrone W. Smith, and here the conversation dropped and the party sat silent for a minute while Brooklyn Chick thought over all she could remember about ravens and writing desks, which wasn't much. Tyrone W. Smith was the first to break the silence. What day of the month is it? He said while scratching his head, turning to Brooklyn Chick. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and was looking at it uneasily, shaking it every now and then and holding it to his ear. Hi 50 Plus, how are you? Welcome to the live. Guys, also, if you haven't smashed the thumbs up button, please do so for me. Brooklyn Chick considered a little and then she said the fourth. 2 days wrong, sighed Tyrone W. Smith. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works, he added, looking angrily at the Cory Ball. It was the best butter, Cory Ball meekly replied. Yes, but some crumbs must have gotten inside as well, Tyrone W. Smith grumbled. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife. Cory Ball took the watch and looked at it gloomingly, and then surprisingly, he dipped it into his cup of tea. He looked at it again, but he could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best butter, you know. Brooklyn Chick had been looking over his shoulder with curiosity. Suddenly she remarked, what a funny watch. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is. Why should it? Muttered Tyrone W. Smith. Does your watch tell you what year it is? Of course not, Brooklyn Chick replied very readily, but that's because it says the same year for such a long time together, you see, which is just the case with mine, said Tyrone W. Smith. Brooklyn Chick felt dreadfully puzzled. Tyrone Smith's remark seemed to have no sort of meaning in it, and yet it was certainly English. I don't quite understand you, she said, as politely as she could. DOD, the Dormouse, is asleep again, said Tyrone W. Smith as he poured a little hot tea upon his nose. DOD shook his head impatiently and said, without opening his eyes, of course. Just what I was going to remark myself, you guys. Have you guessed the riddle yet? Tyrone W. Smith said, turning to Brooklyn Chick again. No, I give it up. Brooklyn Chick replied. What's the answer? I haven't the slightest idea, said Tyrone W. Smith. Nor I, said Cory Ball. Brooklyn Chick sighed wearily. I think you might do something better with the time, she said, than wasting it asking riddles that have no answer. If you knew time as well as I do, said Tyrone W. Smith, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him. I don't know what you mean, said Brooklyn Chick. Of course you don't. This has been the case since you first walked up, said Tyrone W. Smith, tossing his head contemptuously. I dare say you never even spoke to time. Perhaps not, Brooklyn Chick cautiously replied. But I know I have to beat time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it, said the Hatter. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you like with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint to time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. I only wish it was, Cory Ball said to himself in a whisper. That would be grand, certainly, said Brooklyn Chick thoughtfully. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know? Not at first, perhaps, said Tyrone W. Smith. But you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you wish. Is that the way you manage? Asked Brooklyn Chick. Tyrone W. Smith shook his head mournfully. Not I, he replied. We quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know, pointing with his teaspoon at Cory Ball. It was at the great concert given by Queen 73 of Hearts, and I had to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Bat. How I wonder where you at. You know the song, perhaps. I've heard something like that, said Brooklyn Chick. It goes on, you know, Tyrone W. Smith continued in this way. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle. Here D.O.D. shook itself and began singing in its sleep. Twinkle, 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 and went on so long that they had to pinch it to make it stop. Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse, said Tyrone W. Smith. You see, when Queen 73 jumped up and brawled at me, he's murdering the time. Off with his heads. How dreadfully savage, explained Brooklyn Chick. And ever since that, Tyrone W. Smith went on in a mournful tone. He won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now. Hi, Mitchella. Afro, how are you? So glad for you to join us. A bright idea came into Brooklyn Chick's head. Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here? She said. Yes, that's it, said the Hatter with a sigh. It's always tea time, and I've always wondered why, because we've no time to watch the things between whiles. Then you keep moving around, I suppose, said Brooklyn Chick. Exactly, that's it, said Tyrone W. Smith, as the things get used up. But what happens when you come to the beginning again, my friends? Brooklyn Chick ventured to ask. Suppose we change the subject, Cory Ball interrupted, yawning. I'm getting tired of this. I vote the young lady tell us a story. I'm afraid I don't know one, said Brooklyn Chick, rather alarmed at the proposal. Then D.O.D. shall. They both cried, wake up, D.O.D., and they pinched it on both sides at once. D.O.D. slowly opened his eyes. I wasn't asleep, he said in a hoarse, feeble voice. I heard every word you fellas were saying, of course. Tell us a story, said Cory Ball. Yes, please do, pleaded Brooklyn Chick. And be quick about it, added Tyrone W. Smith, or you'll be asleep again before it's done. Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, DOD began in a great hurry, and their names were Dawn Grinage, Lois Fuller, and Lustrous Bloggs, and they lived at the bottom of a well. What did they live on? Said Brooklyn Chick, who also took a great interest in questions of eating and drinking. They lived on treacle, said Dormouse after thinking a minute or two. They couldn't have done that, you know, Brooklyn Chick gently remarked. They'd have been ill, so they were, said DOD, very ill. Brooklyn Chick tried to fancy to herself what such an extraordinary way of living would be like, but it puzzled her too much, so she went on. But why did they live at the bottom of a well? Take some more tea, Cory Ball said to Brooklyn Chick very earnestly. I've had nothing yet, Brooklyn Chick replied in an offended tone, so I can't take more. You mean you can't take less, said Tyrone W. Smith. It's very easy to take more than nothing. Nobody asked your opinion, said Brooklyn Chick. Who's making personal remarks now, said Tyrone W. Smith triumphantly. Hi, Yvonne. How are you? Welcome to my live. Brooklyn Chick did not quite know what to say to this, so she helped herself to some tea and bread and butter, and then turned to DOD and repeated her question. Why did they live at the bottom of the well? DOD again took a minute or two before he would tell them anything. He thought about it and then said it was a terrible well. There's no such thing, Brooklyn Chick was beginning very angrily, but Tyrone W. Smith and Cory Ball went, shh, shh, and DOD sulkily remarked, if you can't be civil, you better finish the story yourself. No, please go on, Brooklyn Chick said very humbly. I won't interrupt again. I dare say there may be one, my friend. One indeed, said DOD indignantly. However, he consented to go on. And so these 3 little sisters, Dawn Grinage, Lois Fuller, and Lustrous Bloggs, were learning to draw, you know. What did they draw? Said Brooklyn Chick, quite forgetting her promise. Terrible, said DOD, without considering at all this time. I want a clean cup, interrupted Tyrone W. Smith. Let's all move one place on. He moved on as he spoke, and DOD followed him. Cory Ball moved on DOD's place, and Brooklyn Chick rather unwillingly took the place of Cory Ball. Tyrone W. Smith was the only one who got any advantage from the change, and Brooklyn Chick was a good deal worse off than before, as Cory Ball had just upset the milk jug into its plate. Brooklyn Chick did not wish to offend DOD again, so she began very cautiously. But I don't understand. Where did they draw the terrible from? You can draw water out of a water well, said Tyrone W. Smith. So I should think you could draw terrible out of a terrible well. Stupid. But they were in the well. Brooklyn Chick said to DOD, not choosing to notice this last remark. Of course they were, said DOD well in. This answer so confused poor Brooklyn Chick that she let the DOD go on for some time without interrupting it. Dawn Grinage, Lois Fuller, and Lustrous Blogg were learning to draw. DOD went on, yawning and rubbing its eyes for it was getting very sleepy, and they drew all manner of things, everything that begins with an M. Why with an M, said Brooklyn Chick. Why not, said Cory Ball. Brooklyn Chick was silent. DOD had closed its eyes by this time and was going off into a doze, but on being pinched by Tyrone W. Smith, it woke up again with a little shriek and went on. That begins with an M, such as mousetraps and the moon and memory and muchness. You know, you say things are much of a muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of a muchness? Really, now you ask me, said Brooklyn Chick, very much confused. I don't think. Then you shouldn't talk, said Tyrone W. Smith. This piece of rudeness was more than Brooklyn Chick could bear. She got up and pushed in her chair and in a great disgust walked off. DOD fell asleep instantly, and neither of the others took least notice of her going. She looked back once or twice, half hoping they might call after her. The last time she saw them, they were trying to put DOD into the teapot. At any rate, I'll never go there again, said Brooklyn Chick, as she picked her way through the wood, trying to pretend it didn't matter. It's the stupidest tea party I ever was at in all my life. Just as she said this twice, she noticed that one of the trees had a door leading right into it. That's very curious, she thought, but everything's curious today. I think I may as well go in at once. And in she went. Once more she found herself in the long hall and close to the little glass table. Now I'll manage better this time because I'm able, she said to herself, and began by taking the little golden key and unlocking the door that led inside the garden. Then she went to work nibbling at the mushroom. She had kept a piece of it in her pocket until she was about a foot high, and then she walked down the little passage and found herself at last in the beautiful garden, among the bright flower beds and the cold fountains. Guys, if you just came in, please don't forget to smash up the thumbs up for me, please. A large rose tree stood near the entrance of the garden. The roses growing on it were white, but there were 3 gardeners, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, Erica McDuffie, and Pat Jones at it, busily painting them red. Brooklyn Chick thought in her head, this is a very curious thing, and she went nearer to watch them, and just as she came up to them, she heard one of them say, "Look out now, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs. Don't go splashing paint all over me like that." "I couldn't help it," said Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlog in a sulky tone. Erica McDuffie jogged my elbow, on which Erica McDuffie looked up and said, "That's right. Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs almost hit my head. Always lay the blame on others. You'd better not talk," said Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs. "I heard Queen 73 say only yesterday, you deserve to be beheaded." "What for?" said the one who had spoken first. "That's none of your business," Pat Jones said Erica McDuffie. "Yes, it is her business," said Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs. "And I'll tell her it was for bringing the cook tulip roots instead of onions." Erica McDuffie flung down her brush and had just begun. Well, of all the unjust things, when her eye chanced to fall upon Brooklyn Chick as she stood watching them, and she checked herself suddenly. The others looked round also, and all of them bowed low. "Would you tell me," said Brooklyn Chick a little timidly, "why you are painting those roses?" Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs and Erica McDuffie said nothing, but looked at Pat Jones. Pat Jones began in a low tone, "Why, the fact is, you see, miss, this here ought not to be. It should have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake, you see. And if Queen 73 was to find this out, we should all have our heads cut off, without a doubt. So you see, miss, we're doing our best before she comes." At this moment, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, who had been anxiously looking across the garden, called out, "Queen 73. Queen 73 and the three gardeners, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, Erica McDuffie, and Pat Jones, instantly threw themselves flat upon their faces. There was a sound of many footsteps coming from many places. So Brooklyn Chick looked around, eager to see Queen 73. "Hi, Lustricia Vlogs. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me for story time. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up." First came 10 soldiers carrying clubs. These were all shaped like Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, Erica McDuffie and Pat Jones, oblong and flat, with their hands and feet at the corners. Next came the 10 courtiers. These were ornamented all over with diamonds and walked 2 and 2 as the soldiers did. After these came the royal children. There were 10 of them, and the little dears came jumping merrily along hand in hand. In couples they were all ornamented with hearts. Next came the guests, mostly kings and queens, and among them Brooklyn Chick didn't recognize a thing but Hippy Dippy 89. It was talking in a hurried, nervous manner, smiling at everything that was said, and went by without noticing her as he turned his head in another direction. Then followed the Knave of Hearts, his Imperial savage, carrying the king's crown on a crimson velvet cushion pallet. And last of all, this grand procession came the King and Queen 73 of Hearts. Hi, Angels Are We Nursery. Hi, Vernice. I want to make you a moderator, please, ma'am, if you don't mind. Gigi is one. And okay, you already are still in there, as thank you. Don't forget the thumbs up. Brooklyn Chick was rather doubtful whether she ought not to lie down on her face like Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, Erica McDuffie, and Pat Jones. But she could not remember ever having heard of such a rule at processions. And besides, what would be the use of a procession, though, thought she, if people had to lie down upon their faces so that they couldn't see it? So she stood still where she was and waited. When the procession came opposite to Brooklyn Chick, they all stopped and looked at her. And Queen 73 said severely, "Who is this?" She said it to the Knave of Hearts, his Imperial savage, who only bowed and smiled and replied, never to carry on a conversation. "Idiot," said Queen 73, tossing her head impatiently, and turning to Brooklyn Chick. She went on, "What's your name, child?" as she waited a while to respond. My name is Brooklyn Chick, so please, Your Majesty, she said very politely. But she added to herself, why, there's only a pack of cards after all. I needn't be afraid of them. And who are these? Said Queen 73, pointing to the three gardeners, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs, Erica McDuffie and Pat Jones, who were lying round the rose tree. For you see, as they were lying on their faces, and the pattern on their backs was the same as the rest of the pack. She could not tell whether they were gardeners or soldiers or courtiers or three of her own children. How should I know, said Brooklyn Chick, surprised at her own courage. It's no business of mine. Queen 73 turned crimson with fury, and after glaring at her for a moment like a wild beast, screamed, "Off with her head! Off!" Nonsense, said Brooklyn Chick very loudly and decidedly, and Queen 73 was silent. The king laid his hand upon her arm and timidly said, honey, come on. Consider, my dear, she's only a child. Queen 73 turned angrily away from him and said to his Imperial savage, turn them over. The knave, his Imperial savage, did so very carefully with one foot, you know. Get up, said Queen 73 in a shrill, loud voice, and the three gardeners, Denise Lifestyle Vlogs, Erica McDuffie, and Pat Jones, instantly jumped up and began bowing to the king. Queen 73, the royal children, and everybody else. Leave off that, screamed Queen 73. You might be giddy. And then, turning to the rose tree, she went on, what have you been doing here? May it please your majesty, said Pat Jones in a very humble tone, going down on one knee as she spoke. We were trying, I see, said Queen 73, who had meanwhile been examining the roses. Off with their heads! And the procession moved on, three of the soldiers remaining behind to execute the unfortunate ones, the gardeners, who ran to Brooklyn Chick for protection. You shan't be beheaded, said Brooklyn Chick, and she put them into a large flower pot for protection. The three soldiers wandered about for a minute or two, looking for them and didn't know what to do, so they marched off quietly after the others. Are their heads off? Shouted Queen 73. Their heads are gone, if it pleases thee, Majesty, the soldiers shouted in reply. That's right, shouted Queen 73. Can you play croquet? Who, me? Said Brooklyn Chick, as the soldier stood silently and looked as the question was evidently meant for her. Yes, shouted Brooklyn Chick. Come on then, roared Queen 73, and Brooklyn Chick joined the procession, wondering what would happen next. It's very fine day, wouldn't you say? Said a timid voice at her side. She was walking by Brooklyn Chick, who was peeping anxiously into her face. Very, very, said Brooklyn Chick, but where's the Duchess, Cheryl Freeman? Hush, hush, said Hippy Dippy 89 as he walked close behind the queen in a low, hurried tone. He looked anxiously over his shoulder as he spoke, and then raised himself upon tiptoe, but his mouth close to her ear, and whispered, she's under sentence of execution, my dear. What for? Said Brooklyn Chick. Did you say what a pity? Brooklyn Chick asked. No, I didn't, said Brooklyn Chick. I don't think it's at all a pity. I said what for? he boxed Queen 73's ears. Hippy Dippy 89 began. Brooklyn Chick gave a little scream of laughter. "Oh, hush," Hippy Dippy 89 whispered in a frightened tone. "Queen 73 will hear you. You see, she came rather late," and Queen 73 said, "Get to your places." Queen 73 shouted in a voice of thunder, and people began running about in all directions, tumbling against each other. However, they got settled down in a minute or two, and the game began. Hi, Lois Fuller, how are you? Brooklyn Chick thought she had never seen such a curious crochet ground in her life. It was all ridges and furrows. The balls were live hedgehogs. The mallets live flamingos, and the soldiers had to double themselves up and to stand on their hands and feet to make the arches. The chief difficulty Brooklyn Chick found at first was in managing her flamingo. She succeeded in getting its body tucked away comfortably enough under her arm with its legs hanging down, but generally just as she had gotten its neck nicely straightened out and was going to give the hedgehog a blow with its head, it would twist itself around and look up in her face with such a puzzled expression that she couldn't hear a thing. She could not help bursting out laughing, and when she had got its head down and was going to begin again, it was very provoking to find that the hedgehog had unrolled itself again and was in an act of crawling away. Besides all this, there was generally a ridge of furrow in the way. Wherever she wanted to send the hedgehog, it prevented her play because the doubled up soldiers were always getting up and walking off to other parts of the ground. Brooklyn Chick soon found that it was a very difficult game indeed. Hi, Frank, Lifestyle Channel. Welcome to my live. Those of you that came in, don't forget to thumbs up. Thank you. So glad to have you. The players all played at once without waiting for turns, quarreling all the while and fighting for the hedgehogs. And in a very short time, Queen 73 was in a furious passion indeed. And she went stomping about and shouting, "Off with their head!" or "Off with her head!" about once in a minute. Brooklyn Chick began to feel very uneasy. To be sure, she had not as yet pissed off Queen 73. But she knew that it might happen any minute, and then thought to herself, what will become of me? They're dreadfully fond of beheading people around here, you see. The great wonder is that there's anyone left alive. She was looking about for some way of escape and wondered if she could get away without being seen. When she noticed a curious appearance in the air, it puzzled her but after watching it a minute or two, she made it out to be a grin, and she said to herself, "It's the Cheshire Cat, Joker's Nation. Now I shall have somebody to talk to who's a little more patient." "How are you getting on?" said Joker's Nation, as soon as there was mouth enough for it to speak with. Brooklyn Chick waited till the eyes appeared and then nodded. "It's no use speaking to it," she thought, "till its ears have come, or at least one of them." In another minute, the whole head appeared, and then Brooklyn Chick put down her flamingo gear and began an account of the game, feeling very glad she had someone to listen to her. Joker's Nation seemed to think that there was enough of it now in sight, and no more of it appeared. I don't think they played at all fairly, Brooklyn Chick began in rather a complaining tone when she thought that she was alone with Joker's Nation. They all quarrel so dreadfully, one can't hear oneself speak, and they don't seem to have any rules in particular. At least if there are, nobody attends to them. You've no idea how confusing it is, all these things being alive. For instance, there's the arch I've got to go through next, walking about at the other end of the ground, and I should have croqueted Queen 73's hedgehog just now. Only it ran away with when it saw mine coming somehow. How do you like Queen 73? Asked Joker's Nation in a low voice. Not at all, said Brooklyn Chick. She has no patience. She's so extremely. Just then she noticed that Queen 73 was close behind her listening. So she went on, likely to win. It's hardly worthwhile finishing the game. Queen 73 smiled and passed on. Who are you talking to? Said Voltron Supreme, going up to Brooklyn Chick and looking at Joker's Nation's head with great curiosity. It's a friend of mine, Joker's Nation, said Brooklyn Chick. Allow me to introduce it. I don't like the look of it at all, said King Voltron Supreme. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes. I'd rather not, Joker's Nation remarked. Don't be impolite, said Voltron Supreme, and don't look at me like that. He got behind Brooklyn Chick as he spoke. A cat may look at a king. I know how odd it seems, said Brooklyn Chick, but I read that in some book, but I don't remember where. Well, it must be removed, said Voltron Supreme very decidedly as he called Queen 73, who was passing at the moment. My dear, I wish you would have this cat removed. Queen 73 had only one way of settling all difficulties, great or small. Off with his head, she said, without even looking around. I'll fetch the executioner, Nobuchan. Myself, said Voltron Supreme eagerly, and he hurried off. Brooklyn Chick thought she might as well go back and see how the game was going on as she heard Queen 73's voice in the distance carrying on, screaming with passion. She had already heard her sentence 3 of the players to be executed for having missed their turns, and she did not like the look of things at all as the game went on, in such a confusion that she never knew whether it was her turn or not. So she went in search of the hedgehog. The hedgehog was engaged in a fight with another hedgehog, which seemed to be Brooklyn Chick an excellent opportunity for crocheting one of them with the other. The only difficulty was that her flamingo was gone across to the other side of the garden. Brooklyn Chick could see it trying helplessly to fly up into a tree. By the time she had caught the flamingo and brought it back, the fight was over, and both the hedgehogs were out of sight. It doesn't matter much, Brooklyn Chick thought, as all of the archers are gone from this side of the ground. So she tucked it away under her arm that it might not escape again, and went back for a little more conversation with her friend. When she got back to Joker's Nation, she was surprised to find quite a large crowd collecting around it. There was a dispute going on between the executioner Nobuchan, King Voltron Supreme, and Queen 73, who were all talking at once while all the rest were quite silent and looking on, very uncomfortably. The moment Brooklyn Chick appeared, she was appealed to by all three to settle the question. They repeated their arguments to her, though as they all spoke at once, she found it very hard indeed to make out exactly what was going on. Nobuchan's argument was that you couldn't cut off a head unless there was a body to cut it off from, and that he had never had to do such a thing before, and wanted to know once more why they wanted him to begin at this time in life. Voltron Supreme's argument was that anything that had a head could be beheaded, and that you weren't to talk nonsense. Queen 73's argument was that if something wasn't done about it in less than no time, she'd have everybody executed all around. It was this last remark that made the whole party look so grave and anxious. Brooklyn Chick could think of nothing else to say, but it belongs to Cheryl Freeman, the Duchess, anyway. So you'd better ask her about it. She's in prison, Queen 73 said to Nobuchan. The executioner said, fetch her here. Have you forgotten she's a prisoner? And then the executioner went off like an arrow. Hi, Denise, Lifestyle and Beauty Blog. So glad you could join us in the live. Hi, Frank G. Joker's Nation's head began fading away the moment he was gone. And by the time he had come back with Cheryl Freeman, it had entirely disappeared and went on. So King Voltron Supreme and Nobuchan ran wildly up and down looking for it, while the rest of the party went back to the game of croquet. And that concludes our story. Hi, Creative Creole. How are you? Unfortunately, you missed our story, so you're going to have to catch it on playback. Denise, I don't know. Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Blog, I don't know what time you walked in, but you were featured in the story. So I don't know how much of it you caught, but if not, you have to go back and look at the replay. But you were one of the characters featured in the story. Hi, daughter of the king. How are you? Let me go back and see who I might have missed. Okay. I don't know if I spoke to you earlier, Angels Are We Nursery, but welcome to the live. Welcome, Bernice. Thank you for being a mod, and UGG. I spoke to Lois Fuller, Frank, Gigi. Okay. Welcome, Denise. Okay, so Denise Lifestyle is speaking. Hi, everyone. Frank is speaking to Denise. Okay, Denise is speaking back to Frank. Creative Creole just made her entrance. Denise is speaking to me. I'm well, thanks. Thank you. I got excited. You got featured tonight, Denise. Not much. I will catch the replay. Oh, okay. Creative Creole is speaking to Frank. Gigi is speaking to Creative Creole and Denise Life Beauty Vlogs. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in my live tonight. I think I'm going to do a giveaway. Oh, first thing, do we have any birthdays in the house tonight? No birthdays in the house tonight? Creative Creole is speaking to Gigi. Denise is saying thank you to Gigi. Okay, so we don't have any birthdays. All right. I usually do a birthday song if we have a birthday. I'm gonna do a giveaway, a book giveaway. For those of you who are new to the live, I'm a published author, and here's my book. My Struggling Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. That's my book, which I'll be reading some excerpts from there during story time in the near future. I've had a couple of giveaways. I've given away a couple of books. 50 Plus was a person that won a book. The Scratching Queen was Vernis and Wolfman. And so I'm going to do another book giveaway tonight. So what I want you all to do, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this because some of you just walked in, so you probably wouldn't be able to. Let's see. I'm going to have to do it to make it fair with the numbers. Frank says my birthday is at the end of the month. Okay, so whatever day your birthday is, Frank, you're going to have to come back to story time that day, and I'll sing my birthday song to you. I usually give people four choices. I either sing the traditional birthday song, I sing the Stevie Wonder version, the Marilyn Monroe version, or the Two Live Crew version. And so far I had, I can't remember, I know it was Fine as Wine Cooking, and I want to say, was it Simply a Sweetheart whose birthday, or was it She Wanted? I don't remember, but it was so funny that both of them picked the same song. They picked the Marilyn Monroe version. Okay. Before I do the giveaway, I'm gonna see how well you all were listening. Does anybody know? And those of you who are here for the first time tonight probably won't know this question, but those of you who were here from the story from the time it's been rolling, does anybody know what the footman's name was? Does anybody know what the footman's name was? Because we've had a lot of characters added. Anybody remember what the footman's name was? Nobody remembers what the footman's name was? Okay. Does anybody remember what the mouse's name was? Nobody remember what the mouse's name was? Okay, Sadie, Jeannie, you're here. Do you remember who you were in the story? Good try, Creative Creole, but you're in a whole different story. That was the very, very first story during story time. That G Kicks, he hasn't been in another story, but good try. At least you tried. Does anybody remember who Righteous Doe was? So the mouse was Aaron Tibbs. Does anybody remember what Sadie Jeannie's, who she was in the story? Creative Creole laughing. Frank's laughing. Does anybody remember what Sadie Jeannie's role was in the story? Come on, guys. I know you're not afraid to take a stab in the dark. Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you. So for those of you who are new to the stream, I use YouTubers' names in the story. It's YouTube characters. So when you hear me call these names, these are your fellow YouTubers. Hi, Dorothy Susia. Oh, Dorothy It's so nice to see you and have you join us in story time. Unfortunately, you missed the story, so you'll have to catch it on replay. But also, now that you're here, I featured you in one of my stories in story time. But this was early on, so I don't remember which story you were featured in. But you were a character in my story. So for those of you who are new to my stream, I tell these stories and I use YouTubers as the characters. And when I use your name, depending on what your name is, you will either be a person, place, or a thing in the story. So it just depends on what your name is and how it flows in the sentence. And there's no rhyme or reason how I pick the characters. It's just based on the story and how the story's flowing and what your names are and how I feel it'll best serve in the story. So you all will be used as either person, place, or a thing. And Dorothy, I think you were a main character in the story that I featured you in. But like I said, you'd have to go back and look at the replays and figure out which story you were featured in. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all what the YouTubers' names were in this story. We've been on this story for a few nights, and we're kind of wrapping it up, I think, maybe in another night, maybe 2 at the most, and we'll be done with this particular story. It ran for a while, and everybody was in agreement to continue with it. JA9, that's a YouTuber. That was a pigeon. He was a pigeon in our story. Viper Nate was the footman in the story. The March Hare was Cory Ball. Cory Ball is a YouTuber. Aaron Tibbs is a YouTuber. That was the mouse. Sadie Jeannie was the housekeeper to Hippy Dippy 89, who's the rabbit, who's also a YouTuber. Hippy Dippy 89. Righteous Doe is a YouTuber, and that was the caterpillar. Queen 73 is actually a YouTuber. Cheryl Freeman is a YouTuber, and she was the Duchess. Sorry, y'all. Joker's Nation is a YouTuber, and that was the cat. Dyrone W. Smith is a YouTuber, and he was the Hatter. And the 3 gardeners were YouTubers, and let me see what their names were again. The 3 gardeners were Cheryl Freeman. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Cheryl Freeman was not the gardeners. Cheryl Freeman, that was the Duchess. Let me go back and see who the 3 gardeners were. Oh, Nobuchan is a YouTuber. Brooklyn Chick is a YouTuber. Voltron Supreme is a YouTuber. He was the king. Nobuchan was the executioner. Voltron Supreme was the king. Let's see. Hippy Dippy 89, that was the rabbit. That's a YouTuber, Hippy Dippy 89. Pat Jones was one of the gardeners. Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs is one of the YouTubers. Denise is here tonight. Denise, you were one of the gardeners. Erica McDuffie was another gardener. The Knave of Hearts was his Imperial Savage. Those are all YouTubers. Yes, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vlogs. Yes, she was one of the gardeners. I think that's pretty much all of the characters that were in the story so far. Those were all of the characters. So I want you all to guess a number. Let's see. Let me see. It was so I want you to guess, because I want to see if you know, if you remember how many, I want to see how many characters tonight were new. Let me see what that number is. I want you to guess a number from, a number from 1 to 10. Everybody gets just one. All you need to do is put one number. That's all you need to do is put one number in the stream. I want everybody to, except Vernis. Vernis already won a book, so Vernis doesn't get to do it. 50 Plus doesn't get to do it. Wolfman Gaming doesn't get to do it. And I think those are the only ones in the stream that that don't get to do it. Everybody else, just enter a number in the stream from 1 to 10 to see how many characters were added tonight. How many characters you think were added tonight from the ones that were already in the story. So just choose a number, everybody, from 1 to 10. Whomever gets it on the head, or the person that comes. Vern is giving me ugly faces. Whomever comes, who gets it or come as close to it, wins one of my books. Will win one of my books tonight. So Creative Creole says 7. Denise Lifestyle and Beauty says 4. Yvonne says 4. And the Creative says, oh, yeah, added tonight. Creative Creole, how many were added tonight from all the characters we've had? Because you've been here enough that you probably should know. So how many? Yvonne says 4. Dorothy, you didn't say anything. Gigi, I didn't hear anything from you. Frank, didn't hear anything from you. Let's see who else is in here. Daughter of the King, I didn't hear from you. Lois Fuller, I didn't hear from you. Shiwana, I didn't hear from you. Angels Are We Nursery, I didn't hear from you. Latricia Vlogs, I didn't hear from you. Mitchella Afro, I didn't hear from you. Sadie Jeannie, I didn't hear from you. I don't think. I'm moving my screen down so I can't really see. Okay, let's see. All right. So nobody else want to take a guess? Going once? Going twice? Last call. Just pick a number, guys. Even if you don't think you've been in enough of the story time sessions, you can still participate and pick a number. Nobody else? Okay. That's the end of it. I'm not taking any more numbers at this point. So guess who our winner is tonight? The Creative Creole. Creative Creole, why you change your number? I'm going to go ahead and let you slide and go with your original number. You were dead on the head, even though you second guessed yourself. You were dead on it. It's 7. 7 were added. So you win one of my books. So drop me your email in the link there, and I'm going to email you and get some information from you. And I'm going to, so let's give her a hand. Yay! And I'm going to autograph the book and send it to you, so you will have it in time. So you'll have it in time for when I start reading excerpts from my book, and you can follow along. You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're quite welcome. And so I'll get those out to you all sometime in the near future. Just giving others a chance who may be interested in purchasing a book, so that they can possibly follow along once I start reading from the book. But I will, like I say, continue these stories in addition to stories out of my book, because this is my way of also doing my shout out to the YouTubers channels, because some of these people that I shout out, you may or may not be subscribed to these people, you know. So when you hear me shout them out like that, you'll have thank you, Creative Creole throwing me some love, Denise Lifestyle and Beauty Vloggers clapping her up, celebrating her, Yvonne is celebrating her. So that's my way of shouting out our YouTubers through my story time. So that's what I'll do. But I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't take your time here with me for granted. I really appreciate you, because there's so many other things you all could have been off doing. And so I just appreciate the fact you all are here. But I'm not gonna prolong the time that you're here, because I do try to stay around that hour mark. I know that it's best for me too, sometimes with the way I'm feeling physically, in addition to the fact that I know you all still prepping for your day tomorrow and different things like that. So I'm not gonna prolong the time, but I thank you so much. I pray that you are still enjoying this story time. This story, like I said, has been kind of challenging. It really put me to the test, and I put a lot of man hours into it, more than I anticipated, but trying to keep it interesting, given the nature of the story. And I think so far I've been doing a pretty decent job with it. And we're almost at the end of this rodeo. So like I said, I want to say it was 11 chapters, and I think we're up to chapter 8 at the most. It may be 9 as well. We may be at chapter 9. I can't remember. I have to go back and look. Which means if we're at chapter 9, we only have 2 more chapters, and I'll probably just go ahead and knock those 2 out tomorrow night and be done with this particular story. Also, while I have you all here, and I will post my usual message regarding story time, I will not have story time Wednesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We will have story time tomorrow, but we will not have story time on Wednesday, because that's a chemo day for me, and it's an all-day deal. And then, of course, the day after chemo, I'm kind of up in the air with how I'm feeling or whatever. So I won't have story time Wednesday or Thursday, but I'll resume on Friday. And again, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and upload a message so that others who didn't make it in tonight that normally come will know. But we will have story time tomorrow night, but not on Wednesday and Thursday. So with that being said, I love you all. Thanks so much for joining me for story time. Always remember, may his peace be with you until we meet again. And always remember, I have a will to live. Good night.